Hi folks, I'm just going to do a wee collection update today. Just no particular reason, I just didn't have nothing new to show you, so I just thought I'd run through and just say where we're at and something about where we're going. So I have a couple of these cases, so I'll just go through what's here fairly quickly. I've got some Arthur 8 knives, 3 of them here. This one is a horn handle with a bit of file work on the back. These two are they're more basic ones, and actually I'm keener on the more basic ones because none of them are particularly well made, and certainly they're not very well finished. But if you're paying less than £20 for a little traditional pocket knife, it's a little bit more acceptable that it maybe doesn't have the same fit and finish as a £200 pocket knife. This one here though is from Otter, the Anchor Messer, which is a stainless steel traditional pocket knife. Looks very much like that one, but it's a bit thicker, a bit more weighty, and it's stainless steel rather than carbon steel, which I quite like. I know a lot of people want their traditionals to be carbon steel, but I just find I'm forever trying to keep them clean and stop them getting patina and rust, because I like them shiny. This little slot here is my other Taylor's Eyewitness Barlow. It lives in here. It's currently away with Al, and they're at UK Legal Carry Knives, and it's going on to Paddy, but we'll get that back in due course. I just realised what one of these other spaces is my Mazarin. These two spaces here I've kept because I've got 2 knives on order from Michael May, and I think Michael handmade Sheffield made knives, you know, these kind of go together. Apparently this one's a Taylor's Eyewitness Barlow. The guy was trained by Michael May, according to Michael May. So the 2 Michael May knives will go in there. I have my Mazarin slipjoint, which I'm currently is my pocket carry, and another Barlow, this one from Boca. This is one of the gold series. Every one of these knives has a video, so I'm not going to get them out and go through them all. If you're interested in to see any of them, any detail, just look them up, Slick Slicers and whatever the knife is. So, you know, Arthur Wright or Sheffield Knives, Otter Messer, Taylor's Eyewitness, Mazarin, Boca. Then I've got some case knives here. These ones across the case. So this is the large Stockman, and this is the I think it's called the medium Stockman, but it's the sort of Swiss Army sized knife, a 90 something millimeter knife. And then we do the same with the trappers. I've got the little trapper, although this trapper is the one with the bottle opener instead of the spray blade. The standard trapper, which I really like as a knife. I think that it's a really, I mean, you may not come up on the camera, but you can see this one is by far the most carried. These two are, but this is by far the most of the case knives. This is a Sodbuster, which probably should be elsewhere in this, but I just kept the case knives all together. We've got a canoe here, and then we've got the baby butterbean, which I always think was the mini canoe. Then I've got 2 more canoes here. These aren't case ones, so the first one is a Rough Rider, which actually I think is not a bad knife for the money, because it's about a third of the price of that. And we've got the Buck canoe, which I think is particularly bad value for money because it sort of fits halfway between these two in price, but in terms of quality it's nowhere near as good as the Rough Rider. Then I have my one and only GEC. I'm not desperately keen on collecting a lot of GECs. I'd rather see more Sheffield knives and knives from around the world, sort of Germany and Italy, than end up with a stack of American made knives. But sometimes I think GEC just maybe a little bit too expensive for what they are. Anyway, move on. Try and do this without upsetting everything. Get the next lot of knives in the shot. Right, so here I have my ADVs. Well, some of my ADVs. I have 4. This one, it's in a home day today, so this one's been in my pocket. So I've got the little 2-inch butcher, 3-inch butcher, 3-inch impy, the 3.75-inch original butcher. This was, I think, one of the very first knives that he made. It's dated for 2013. 08 2013. I don't know if that's number 08 or August. But it's one or the other. I actually keep this slot empty because this wouldn't fit in it. It's too big. But I really would like a small impy. So that's where my impy will go, and it's just to sort of remind me that I want one. And I've kept a place for it, so there's always going to be room for it until I get it. And hopefully at some point I will get it. So then I've got my PK Inzo PK70s. These are Finnish knives, but they're made in Taiwan. They have a sort of Finnish puko sort of shape blade to them. Then I've got two. Now these are Puma knives. Now Puma are a German manufacturer based in Solingen, but they also make knives in various parts of the world. These ones are Puma IP, and IP knives tend to be made in Spain. Now I don't know if that's always the case or just the ones that I've seen for sale in various places, available in retailers in the UK. They always seem to come from Spain. They're really nice little knives. Considering this one is curly birch and this one is amboina wood, I don't know how you pronounce it, probably burl wood, and yet these are under £50, whereas, you know, for a case knife you were paying 60, 70, 80 pounds. Now this one I really quite like. It's an elephant's toenail or sunfish. Now because it's made by Rough Rider, they call it the sunfish, but the toenail and sunfish are similar patterns. Here you can see it's quite a chunky knife. It's you know, it's the same length as any of these other knives, but it's just broad and it's heavy in your hand, and I just quite like that. It just appeals to me. Right, then on the top row here I have the Benchmade Proper, which obviously is an American modern modern traditional knife. I have the West by Quiet Carry, which actually I really quite like as a knife. It is genuinely a quiet carry. It's, you know, it's grey, it's relatively small, it's simple, it's very well made, very tough. Got a good D2 blade, which keeps an edge and works well for me. This one here is one of my absolute favourites at the moment. This is the JE made Lanny's clip, titanium, one-piece bolster and frames. Bit like these are one-piece bolsters and frames. These are stainless steel. This one is in titanium, carbon fibre covers, 35 VN blade, beautifully made, impeccably finished. Just a lovely knife. Just a shame they're so expensive, or I might have had a couple of different ones. This is the Boca Plus Wasabi, which is a front flipper, which if you have a little bit more dexterity than I possess, you can actually flip. Look at UK Legal Carry Al's videos. He can flick it without any trouble. With my hands, I just don't have the fast. I can't even flick this with any consistency because I just can't. I haven't got the ability to move my finger or in this case your thumb quickly enough. This is the Kershaw Pub. Now this gets a lot of carry time with me because in the UK here there is so much paranoia about knife carry, and this, because it has just over a 1-inch blade with a flat end. I was going to say flat point, but that sounds like a bit of an oxymoron. Is considered, you know, it doesn't upset people as much as some knives might. Which reminds me, I've got another knife missing here, which is the it's in my little bag that I carried during the day. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment. It's in here, which is another one that you can get away with carrying. Nobody gets too upset with a little knife with Again, a sort of 1 inch blade. It doesn't, it's never going to upset anybody too much. It is a bit more pointy. I use this one as a money clip though. It works quite well for that. Put that there. This little, I missed one out. This one here is the Robert David L'Epicurian, which I saw on Stefan Smalius's website. It's just a beautiful knife. It's a beautiful Ambonia wood. It's lovely and well polished. Much better polished than that. But it's not hugely expensive. I mean, it was about £100, but it's a bigger knife, very beautifully polished. There's really nice pen style clip. You can wear it in your pocket. Unfortunately, it's too long and it is liner lock, so I can't carry it in the UK. But that's really a crying shame because it's a beautiful knife. So just the last one in here is my, actually it's my brother's. This isn't mine at all. I have one of these and I've just no idea where it is, but it is in the house somewhere. This is the knife that, even before we had silly carry laws in the UK, was the knife that I carried in my pocket all day, every day when I was going out to, but there was always a bigger knife around somewhere, but that was the one I carried in my pocket that I would produce when I was in the office and I wanted to just cut something and didn't want everybody screaming and running about like idiots. So there we are. Right now, I'll just turn this around so we can see it better. Now, top part here, this is my Sodbuster style collection of knives. They are in various qualities, and I say I do have, I call these Sodbusters, but bear in mind that the Sodbuster name is Case Knives Innovation in 1967. That's when they trademarked the name. Whereas this one here is a Carl Schleifer of Solingen knife, and this the original patent comes from Germany or Austria or thereabouts. It's a bit lost in time, and they've been making these things for 300 odd years at least. So whether the name Sodbuster is really appropriate or not, who knows really, who cares. But so my one that's actually a Sodbuster lives in, because they call this the Clodbuster, lives with the other Case knives for the moment at least. Who knows how things will go in the future. But these two are Rough Riders. Although they're very small, they're not UK legal because they're both liner locks, which is a little bit irritating, and I'm not sure I really thought that through when I was buying them. This one is Carl Schleifer, as I say, which I like. It's got the match strike nail nick, and it's bone rather than plastic, but the fit and finish on it is pretty awful. This is another Rough Rider. This one actually is an incredibly good knife. In terms of length, it's UK legal, but as you can probably see here, it's a backlock, which is just a shame because it is a nice knife. Although, of course, being Rough Riders, they've all got pretty poor steel. This one is a Mazarin. I quite like Mazarin knives. I think they make a good knife. The only thing about this one is I do like micarta. It's blue micarta, so that's a winner. But it has a sort of stonewash blade. I'm not big on stonewash blades, but each to their own. Now this one again, this is another bone handled one that's also remarkably cheap. I think this is about £17 or something. This is a Boca Plus. Boca Plus or Boca Magnum? Boca Magnum, I think it is. Yes, Boca Magnum, definitely. It comes in one of the nice tins. The Boca Plus come in nice magnetic boxes. These come in a nice wee tin. It's called the Juliet, but it has a clip point blade. But I still think that's a Sodbuster. Try and tell me it's anything else. But it does have the kind of long bolster of a Barlow. So it hits a couple of right notes in my collection as far as I'm concerned. This one here is very special because it came from Big Red EDC. Jody over in America. He sent that to me, so that's always nice to have. These little these shrades, the last three here, they're some of the earlier knives that I bought actually. I've had these quite a while, although I lost this one and I've just replaced it. These are really quite cheap, £7 or £8. Even this one's only about £8 or £9 or something. This one is too big to be legal, but it actually makes a really good work knife. It's a good good size in the hand. It works well. So I do use this one. These ones are UK legal carry, and from time to time they see the light of day. Although they haven't seen the light of day for a while, actually, to be fair. Now we come down here. We've got the little tiny toothpick. Tiny toothpick is a fun little knife. Again, it's non-threatening, and people ask questions about it because it's a nice wee knife, but I actually find it a little bit hard to open because just in my hands it's very round and it does tend to slip while I'm trying to get the blade out. These next two are little San Remo knives, and I bought these really just to show that you can have a perfectly serviceable, in fact, particularly this one, really quite a good little knife for, well, you'd be surprised how little they cost if if you never bought a San Remo knife. I bought them, I think, from GearBest. I think it could have been AliExpress, but I think GearBest. This one cost me £3 and this one cost me £5, and that's £3 and £5 including postage from China. Now these two don't really live in these cases. I just put them here because I was just doing this review. This one lives in my the little bag that I also have that in. It is the Pioneer X Victorinox Swiss Army knife Pioneer X. The thing the Pioneer X has is scissors. So it's the standard Pioneer large blade, all can opener with a little screwdriver, bottle opener with a big screwdriver, and the wire strip, which I've genuinely never used, but it also has scissors, and that's what makes it the X as opposed to just the Pioneer. Not in here, I do have a red Pioneer, which is still in its box because it was the 2018 edition, and I've also got the Cadet and the classic all in red A-locks, which I just keep. Well, they came in little presentation boxes, and I've never been out of the boxes. I opened the boxes, had a little look, and left them inside. This one here is what I always think is the Celador. Celador is the plastic scales cousin to the Pioneer X. It has a very similar tool selection in that you have the two openers, the can opener and the bottle opener, with their respective screwdrivers and so on. You've got a large blade, which is slightly smaller than the A-locks one. There's a slightly heavier blade, and there's a small blade instead of where the awl would be, but it has on the back an awl, a corkscrew, which I do very occasionally find still comes in handy, although most corks these days or most wine bottles are screw tops. This one here is the Spartan, I think it's called, which is just a nice little knife to have in your pocket. This one that's hiding, it's just a classic SD. I'm not bothered to get it out. There's nothing really to see. It's the little classic SD. It happens to be a black plastic one. I also have a red Jet Setter, which has gone for a walk. Lives around here somewhere, but it's gone for a walk. Jet Setter has, like the classic, it's got the scissors, but it also has a bottle opener on one side rather than having a blade and a fingernail file. And the Jet Setter is one you can take on a plane, or you can take it into places where they have sort of airport style security without getting it confiscated, which I find quite useful. And at least, may not have a knife with you, but at least you've still got a pair of scissors. This one here is the Waiter, which is a single layer knife, which just has a knife, a bottle opener, but it's the multi bottle opener, can opener, so it does both, and a corkscrew on the back. And with all of the ones with corkscrew, I always put the little glasses screwdriver in, which I don't know why I do that, because I have little titanium glasses that have no screws in them. They're just bent wire. So there we go. This one here is Evoker Plus Tech Tool 1, which is, the Tech Tools are rather Evoker's kind of take on the Swiss Army style. It works, they're probably nicer knives. I'm not sure about those multi-tools, but they're nicer knives. I'd say these two are the ones that I carry every day. This one is in my little man bag, and this one lives in the bottom of my briefcase in a little pouch. This one here, my daughter gave me. It's from, would you believe, New York City, and it's got my name on the other side. She found that for me, and because it was a gift, it is special. In other ways, it's not the best knife in the world, but hey, my daughter gave it to me. Now, these are the gaps which I have. I've nothing specific to fill at the moment. Maybe someday something will come along. I forgot to mention one that should be in the other case, which is the Best Man, the Lion Skill Best Man twin blade, which is also out on loan at the moment. So in this side we have, there isn't anything that belongs there. This one is Führer gear. I complained about this bitterly because the centering was so dreadful, and then I just kind of had a fiddle with the screwdriver. Got the centering great, the action on it is incredible. This one flicks every time, but it's too long and it locks, so it's no use in the UK. This one here was a free gift from Heidi Haynes. If you bought a certain amount of stuff, you got. Now I've got two of those, one of which is still in its box, and I keep it special because one day I'm going to, well, if I ever get to 500 subs, and you never know, I just might. We seem to be about the 350 mark at the moment, so we're creeping up there slowly. We're putting about 50 in the last month actually, subs. So if you keep subbing, you never know. When we get to 500, I've got one of these to give away. They're quite rare because the black one is common. You can get it anywhere. There's a red version which Heidi Haynes do, which is half the price of the black one. So if you really want one, that's where to get them from. This one is blue. I say I've got two of them, so I will give one of those away when we get to the 500. This here, this Schrade was one of these ones that was at the bottom of the page when you're on Heidi Haynes, and it's reduced to £7, from whatever it was to £7. And I thought, oh well, I'll have one of those. It's actually pretty horrible. It's a Schrade. It's a liner lock. Does have one-handed opening, but it's illegal to carry in the UK anyway. So now this one is a sort of Italian equivalent of the Opinel. It's pretty cheap. It's pretty rubbish. Doesn't have the lock and collar, so this is UK legal carry. This is a SOG Terminus. SOG Terminus is nice enough, but it's one of these ones where they spent a lot of time and effort on design, with all this machining of the scales, the machining of the clip has the word SOG in it, which actually I don't really like. I prefer to kind of go below the radar, but you know. But it is, you know, it is quite a nice knife, and it also has a very complex grind on the blade, but it's BD1N steel, so it's not great. I compare it with the Wasp, which I got at a similar time. I have two of these. The other one I gave to my son. He works as a landscape gardener, so he wanted a hard-working knife, and I gave him one of these. Although that screw on his one has fallen out, it still works because the nut part of the screw is one of those ones that goes all the way through. So it's just a little screw on the other side that's fallen out, and I'm trying to get another one. It's been a nightmare, but because apparently it's not a warranty item. Screws falling out are my fault, but they're not easy to replace, so it does make the knife potentially useless. So that has annoyed me. The advantage of this one is it's S90V steel, which is the best steel in any of the knives that I've got. I don't have any real proper super steels, but that's pretty good steel. And G10, and all for 50 quid. The red one was 50. The green one that I gave my son was slightly more expensive. This one here is the Spyderco UK PK Heidi Haynes edition, which has unsupported G10 scales. This one has liners as does this one. S30 VN steel, I think it is. So it's a good knife, but I've never really carried it. It's just one that just doesn't really appeal to me. This is one I've got quite recently. It's the 1941 British Army knife. It's got a blade and the big fancy bottle opener that the British Army liked, and screwdriver on the end. It was a bit rusty. I've cleaned it up, sharpened it, and it's quite nice. This one here is a British, well, it's a copy of the British Navy crossed with the British Army clasp knife. I do have two British Navy clasp knives, one of which is not too far away. I can see it, it's here. I've got two of these. This one was mine that I bought in 1970, 74, when I was 8. I bought it from the stores at HMS Claverhouse. This is sort of a lightweight copy. I did have a British Army one, but it really belongs to my brother, so I've given it back to him. I've got one of these sitting waiting to go in the post. I'm going to send it to Knife Chats with Tobias, because he collects these Marlin Spike knives, and as I've got a double, I thought I'd send it to him. These two knives were, they might look like Chris Reeves Menandis, and I only wish they were. I ordered one of these for £8 from AliExpress, and this arrived, and then 2 days later another one arrived. Actually, this one arrived first, this was the second one. So I've got two of those for £8, so I'm just quite chuffed with that, really. They look like Menandis, but they don't have the build quality or whatever of a Menandi, but it kind of scratched an itch in a way. I don't really like the idea of somebody stealing someone else's design and making it. And if they were trying to sell it for anything like a Menandi price or anything approaching it, I would, you know, I'd be really miffed. But the Menandi is a pretty knife, and, you know, maybe one day I might buy one. I really like that clip. And the Chris Reeve one doesn't have that screw there. It's got the Chris Reeves logo. So that looks really nice in a pocket, shirt pocket or jacket pocket. So it's a nice knife to go. And finally, well, not quite finally, nearly finally, I've got 3 open L's. My son gave me one the other day, actually. There's this one. So I've got a 5, a 7 and an 8. Open L's are great little, really cheap but really efficient French peasant knives, but they're the best picnic knife in the world. Apart from else, if you have a picnic and you lose it, and you forget it, leave it lying in the grass somewhere, you don't really cry over it too much. And the other knife that is not in here, which was I just found when I was digging out the Navy knife, is my Benjamin 940, which I keep on my desk, and I use. It's just the single knife that gets used the most, because it's just you know, when you reach for a knife, all those traditionals are lovely, but none of them do that. And that just, you know, so that's a winner. Okie doke. So there we are. That's my knife collection at the moment, and that's taken half an hour. If you're still with me after half an hour, then you probably enjoy something about what I do. If that's the case, please, if you haven't already, subscribe. If we ever get to that magic 500, there's one of these still in its box, and I'll think of something else to go with it, but that's what I'm keeping that for. There's bound to be something else. Maybe I might have one of these then. Who knows? Anyway, so there we are. That will do for just now. As I say, please subscribe, ring the little bell, and most of all, if you could give it just a wee tick. And if you've anything to say, please feel free to make a comment. I generally reply to the vast majority of my comments.